Josh Whitehead.
Yep.
Rivet Events, right? I appreciate you coming on the podcast. It is an honor to obviously finally shake your hand, as I know you are very, very busy, as are we. The wedding industry is very unforgiving with your time. From what I understand, we have some clients that do some of the same things. But appreciate you coming in. Appreciate you being in the studio. Tell us a little bit about your company.
So, Rivet Events, we're in the wedding and entertainment space, mainly in weddings. We started with a vision to create stress-free weddings for couples. Planning weddings haven't got any easier, and most couples, they get excited, they get engaged, as they should, and get a lot of celebration, and then next thing you know, they find out really fast there's about 100 decisions they need to make, and it gets really stressful really fast, and we want to be part of not just making weddings better, but simplifying that experience for our couples.
Sure. I had a friend of mine, actually, who was getting married in November, ended up getting married, but not where they originally planned to get married. They paid a deposit for their wedding venue, and then their wedding venue had some issue. I don't know if it, I guess I want to use the word certificate, but it's not certificate, right? But you have to get some type of, basically you have to have something done where your land is like deemed a venue, and you have to get a license or business license or whatever in order to be insured to have people on your premises and have events. And they had actually started letting people pay their deposits in hopes that they could secure their, licensing or whatever that may be in time to fulfill the services that they had already kind of let people pay deposits for at the end of the year. She got about 3 months out from her wedding, and they told her, "Hey, we're having issues doing what we said we were going to do, and we're going to have to refund you your money. You're going to have to find somewhere else to have your money." That's
stressful.
90 days.
Yeah.
Right. Tell me some of the horror stories that you've heard and that you've helped resolve kind of in your business, because I know there's probably 100 million.
Yeah, I think there's a couple things. I think that since COVID, obviously the world has changed a lot. Being in live events, we were super impacted. We were shut down for 7 months. There were smaller weddings, micro weddings. Certain things were allowed, certain things weren't. Most people postponed, but it added a level of risk as someone's making a big investment in their wedding day. And hey, how am I know someone's going to show up? Hey, what if something else comes along and the person that I hired for my wedding gets sick? What do I do? Something happens with the venue. What do I do? And when something happens, usually you don't get 2 years in advance. It's last minute and creates a lot of stress. And so one of the things about Rivet Events is because we have our own in-house wedding team, when people did get exposed to COVID, when things did come up, all of our weddings, we were able to make immediate changes, send someone to the wedding day, and still be able to serve those clients with that level of uncertainty that was out there. So I think that was one of the things that were valuable to couples, because there was a lot of fear and risk. Every decision seemed like they would, every couple I was talking to were like, we should just elope. It's like, it's not a bad idea. I get that this is stressful. And we just wanted to be part of solutions for them.
Sure. And so tell me a story. So how did you guys get started? Like, what made you kind of dive into this? Because I know it's super stressful, you know, and if you can manage it the right way, because like one of the first clients that I actually ever added to my book of business was Holly from the Season Events that I introduced you to. She does wedding planning, but she's known for catering.
Right.
The food is really her specialty, and she, I guess it kind of comes with the territory, is that you have to be somebody that people can trust to relieve some of those headache.
Right.
So I guess that you kind of add that to your bag over time. But tell me what made you decide this direction? Did you have a wedding experience yourself that you wanted to make sure nobody else went through, and you kind of took your skills and ran with it, and what were you doing before you kind of jumped into your own business?
Great question. My wedding was awesome, so it was part of it. I didn't have like an awful wedding, and that was a big catalyst. My wedding was awesome, but that was part of the story. My background, I started with a company called Boosterthon, which is one of the largest elementary school fundraisers that are just adding a ton of values in the fundraising space for schools. And I think they're actually in high schools now too, which is really cool to see them grow. But a big part of their organization were the events that they put on, these fun runs. And so I started there and really fell in love with events in general. and did that for a while. After that, started kind of going into the corporate space, did a little bit of traveling, worked with a few companies. Didn't get into weddings yet, but I had a really fun experience. Got to travel around, do some stuff with like Chick-fil-A and Coca-Cola and these fun corporate events. I actually got to go to Texas one time for the Cotton Bowl and was part of hosting something called the Chick-fil-A dance booth. We had like 20 dancing cows, and this is the first experience everyone had when they came into the stadium. And so a lot of fun creating these ideas and hosting these events. And eventually, someone was like, hey, do you do weddings? And I hadn't done a wedding yet, but it was an event. I knew events really well, and I knew I could do it. And did a few weddings and really kind of started to fall in love. Like, this is a fun event. I want to do this. I started working for a lot of companies here in Atlanta. But really the story of Rivet Events came later. I got married. My wife, Brooke, is amazing. We have a 15-month-old, super fun, love being parents. She actually works on the business with me. She's one of our photographers. And so we have a lot of fun doing that together. And after our wedding, I had a bunch of people that I knew from the industry, friends, family members that were working and doing weddings that did my wedding. We had such a great experience. And one specific story, I was at a friend's wedding, and they didn't hire me to do the DJing or host anything. I was just a guest, which was fine. We were enjoying. They were a close friend of ours. And it was really funny. They hired someone online. It was an older gentleman. He was doing his best, but it wasn't working. No one was dancing. There were some few curveballs anyway. It was an earlier wedding. It wasn't at night. It was outside. So it wasn't inside. So some of these things that you control to make a more kind of fun, engaging
experience feel like a party
wasn't there, and he couldn't handle it. And I remember my wife, I was like, I should do something about this. And she was like, no, please don't embarrass us. Like, we're just guests here. And eventually my friend came up to me, hands me the microphone. I know this sounds dramatic, but he says, hey, please save my wedding. This is how, in the moment, how he was feeling. And maybe that's just how I remember the story. But for me, it was like a Superman moment. I grabbed the microphone. I went to the DJ. I gave him 3 songs to play and got on the microphone, knew exactly what to do in that moment. And within those 3 songs, we had the dance floor full for the rest of the night. And I remember wanting to, weddings are a celebration. People should be having fun. Like, no one deserves an empty dance floor. And we wanted to be part of really putting an end to that and making sure that these celebrations are fun and that people are enjoying that night. And so that was a big catalyst. I have a few other stories like that, but that was a big one of like, hey, someone should do something about this, and I'm kind of good at it. Maybe I should lean in a little more.
Sure. Well, you got to have that charisma and that enthusiasm. It's hard to replace that. You know what I mean? And especially when you're in the setting and it's already not, the enthusiasm is slowly draining. What is there is slowly draining itself out of the room. It's doubly hard to add it back.
For sure.
So that's kind of an intangible skill that you have, and you just kind of found a home for it, which is really, really cool as well. How long have you guys been doing Rivet Events as your own company?
We started a little over 6.5 years ago.
6.5 years ago, and you've been married. You said your 8th anniversary is
ninth
anniversary is coming up. So 2.5 years, and you're still in that event space and in the corporate world, all of these different interactions. Then you guys step out into Rivet Events on your own. Your wife's working with you. I'm assuming the team at that point is probably you two. Or you added people pretty early?
Yeah, so it was actually the people that did my wedding. So that's where it was kind of part of that story was. We really started as a family company. I have an identical twin brother, my sister-in-law. I had a really close friend that was a videographer that did my wedding. My wife was there. And so we had a really small team when we started. And, just like anyone starts, you kind of start small and you have big aspirations. All of us had been in the space for a little bit. So we knew how it wasn't like we were figuring out how to do the work. We were just like, hey, was Rivet Events going to look like?
Sure.
And started dreaming that up.
And so you were doing most of your business locally?
Yes, we still do most of our 90% of our weddings are here in Atlanta. We do travel, some destination weddings, fun stuff. Tennessee, South Carolina. So
when
generally
people want to pay for it.
Yeah, and some people find us and love us and want us to bring part of that experience even out of the state of Georgia, but we're pretty local based. 90% of our weddings are here.
That's pretty cool. That's something to be said for that too. And how do you get most of your business? Is it just from like word of mouth and people reviewing good experience with you, and they want to kind of pass
Yeah.
that on to someone else in that stressful time, I'd imagine.
Yeah, that's a lot of it for sure. Someone has a great experience, they're going to tell about it. There's also some what you would call, I guess, wedding marketplaces. You've got bridal shows. You've got, if you've ever heard of Knot or Wedding Wire, those are also places where people find us. We've been around. We've done over 750 weddings since we've started, and so
Goodness
we
gracious.
we know a lot of wedding planners and venues that are really great partners for us, that love having our team there and the experience, and we enjoy that partnership as well.
Sure. So you had the skills from the corporate world, from kind of the marketing background, the events knowledge, having went through your own wedding, having obviously been to a bunch of weddings. Tell me about when you kind of slid that business owner cap on. What were some of your shortcomings and things that you had to learn, and what were some of the things that you were already doing well just because there were things that you knew how to do?
Yeah, great question. So I I really in the beginning was just, I knew how to be passionate about this. I was energized by it, and so I was really focused on sales in a lot of ways. One, finding clients that are and couples that were looking for the stress-free experience, and then team members that wanted to be part of our team and part of what we were building. And so that was probably a big energizer early on, but I really didn't know much about it, to be honest. I had worked in a lot of growing businesses and things like that, but it was really on part of the event side of it. And so I had to learn a lot about businesses. I brought on a lot of coaches and was part of organizations that were a big help to me. And even really before, it was a while before I went kind of all in on the business. And I had a coach friend that really pushed me. He runs a nonprofit called Plywood People. They're in the nonprofit space and focus on helping social impact projects get going and sustainable. And I remember him telling me, "Is like, hey, like you have all the reasons why not to go, but this is working. You're continue." I think we were at like 100 events at that time. He's like, at some point you just gotta jump, right?
Yeah,
And
sure.
he was a really big part of pushing me. That was at the very end of 2019,
Oh, wow.
and yep, so December
Yeah, money
2019.
time. Yeah, there's 10 people in the U.S. with COVID, and you guys
Yeah, yeah,
were.
yeah. And so I was super energized, and 3 months later we were shut down. And so a
Yeah,
lot of challenges during that season of like, oh no, did I make the right
sure.
decision? And but here we are.
Sure. I think that nonprofits are some of the most, they teach you the most about business, I think. And they're some of the most difficult businesses
Mm.
because the core of nonprofits is always enthusiasm, right?
Right.
Enthusiasm that you had for your product and your company, and the understanding that the the confidence in yourself to deliver a really, really good product based off of what you know,
Yeah.
coupled with your enthusiasm, will drive you a really, really long way in business.
Yeah.
And as you were kind of learning the business side of things, what you needed to do to be profitable, the marketing side of business, adding team members, all the things. What was that experience like, especially during the heat of COVID?
Yeah, I'll bring up my friend Jeff with Plywood again. There was a time where I was like, I got to shut it down.
Mm.
Really still a young business. We probably, I
I
don't
think
remember if
everyone goes through that at some point, though. So that's not a
for
blackout for
sure.
you guys.
Yeah,
Everybody throws that through their mind, like, I'm going to get a job.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's and everyone was going through it, right? Then
Oh
no
yeah.
one knew if they had a job, right? What was going to happen next? And so there's definitely a lot of uncertainty in the world. And for me, it was the situation. It was, hey, all of my team members don't feel like weddings are the space for them because there's no work right now. So they're looking for other things. So we're trying to figure that out. All of our clients are trying to figure out what to do with their weddings. And so we want to help these couples. A lot of them did reschedule down the road, and then there's no cash flow coming in. So what do you do, right? It's a bad situation. It's like, hey, maybe the best thing for us to do is to just say, hey, we'll refund what we can and move on. But Jeff, once again, set me down and was like, hey, definitely don't do that. It's a bad
Yeah,
idea.
yeah.
And there was other people in that community that was saying the same. It's like, hey, we'll figure this out. Just keep going. What's the next right thing
Yeah.
to do?
Weddings aren't
And
over.
for sure. And that was really the driver. And it was just a season, and we rebounded and actually did over 100 events that year from the fall from all the rebound.
100 events is sounds such a crazy number.
Yeah.
Because really, you're limited to, today's Thursday.
Yep.
As we're in the studio. If you do an event on Thursday, that's probably abnormal for you, right?
Very rare.
So you get Friday and Saturday.
Correct. Most of our weddings are Saturday, and then maybe 15% Friday, another 5 to 10% Sundays.
Yeah, so you have like the Friday to Sunday where it's like nothing can go wrong for you, really. Yeah. Like car trouble really ruins a weekend.
Yep.
All of the small inconveniences and inconsistencies in life throw up a big wrench in some of those plans, and doing 100 events in a year and really holding it down and not having any of those horror stories is incredible.
I appreciate it. I try not to think about it, because then you start to think about it, and you
start knocking on wood everywhere you go.
For sure. Well, you think about it, it's like we're sending 4 to 5 team members to an event. You start doing the multiples, like we're running 700 activations, 15, 20 this weekend, and that can be really stressful. But hey, let's focus on we've got the right team in place, we've got the right systems in place. We've checked all the dots and everything. Everything's good to go. So let's rest in that and just move forward. And if a problem comes up, we'll figure it out when we get there.
Absolutely. Tell me, what do you think is kind of your biggest strength now? Having learned all of you've learned and worn that business owner hat for as long as you have, 6.5 years and 3 years post-COVID, your second Hall of Fame career. What do you feel like? Because I know we talked about this too originally on the phone. We were like, Monday and Tuesdays are covered up for us.
Yeah.
Right? And it's the same way for us, and Shelly can attest to this, is because we're constantly dealing with stuff that came in over the weekend. Stuff that we couldn't fix on Friday, or stuff that's came in over the weekend that we couldn't get our hands on because business owners were out of their office or their retail location was closed or whatever that may be. Monday and Tuesday are big admin days for us to put Band-Aids on all the most important people to us, which are our clients.
Yeah.
What does that spread of time look like now for you? Like, what are you spending most of the time doing day to day?
It's a great question. So I'm not as involved into the day-to-day events as we'll do about 250 weddings this year.
And you'll be at how many of them?
How many
total will you be at
this year? 10 to 15.
Man, that is solid.
Yeah, and so
pretty solid.
We'll be at that. We have a service called the Diamond Package. It's all of our services. So our photographers are going to be there, videographers. That's a team of 4 because they have an assistant on the day. A DJ. We'll have 2 planners and a photo booth. And anytime someone books that, I try to be at that wedding, so that as long as it's not double booked, I'm not going to be at 2 weddings at the same time. But it allows me to
2 diamond packages in the same weekend. That was a good weekend, though, huh?
It would be a good weekend. Yeah. Our team would be pretty locked up at that point. But it allows me to see our team at its best, doing what we started this thing to do, to create stress-free weddings for couples and really see that Rivet event experience and get the feedback and energy that I need to keep ideating, keep pushing things forward. And so I love it. I wish I could be at more weddings as the company's grown, priority shift, things like that. But I still love being there on an event day. Sometimes I and my DJs
that experience is hard to replace. It really is.
It is, yeah. And I want to I get the itch to jump back in. I'll see the DJ on the microphone, and they're crushing it. I'm like, maybe I should just go up there. And so I just kind of stay in my lane now. It's like, hey, let's just encourage everyone and just really be part of this celebration. And so I'm much more into planning and strategy now.
Sure. And so, what is next for you guys? Like, are you guys adding another service or adding more team members or kind of upping the amount of weddings that you can do a year based on the amount of people you have? Like, what's level, X for you guys?
Yeah, great question. So we're always growing. We've been growing over the from COVID. We did 100 weddings. The year after, 220. We'll probably do around 250 this year. That's what we're expecting, and continuing to grow and grow. And so we're always bringing on team members, always hiring, training, and looking at, hey, how do we create the best experience for our couples? And then on the marketing side, how do we tell these stories really, really well? I think that as far as what's next for us, and I'm thinking, 3 to 5 years? Hey, like
Sure.
what's the next big jump for us? I really see it has two things: is finding people that are looking to maybe build a career at Rivet Events in this, and looking at launching new markets. And so that's always an option. We've kind of got a playbook down that we feel that we could go to Tennessee, where we're already serving events,
Right.
and help bring that Rivet Events experience.
It's almost kind of
there.
like that franchise model, but still you guys, still the same
Correct.
product, the same level of quality.
Exactly. Yeah. You know, the franchise things is hard with weddings, right?
Oh
it's
yeah,
like,
100%.
Hey, you know, we're you can buy into
You're
this.
not barbecue sauce.
Correct.
You know what
Correct.
I mean? Yeah.
And so there's definitely some things, but we've done a lot of weddings and we figured a lot of things out. And so there's the room for it to grow. And, you know, we're not the only company in the wedding space. There's venues that are have opened up new venues in different states, things like that. And so we're getting close to that point where we're trying to figure that part out. And I think the other thing that we're looking at over the next 3 to 5 years is possibly looking at partners with spaces, or actually starting our own event space to really create a home of the stress-free wedding.
That's cool.
We're doing all the services. You know, our process wouldn't change whether we go to, you know, Norcross or North Georgia.
Sure.
And if we had our own space, we would just really be able to simplify that experience for our couples.
That's really cool because you can still kind of deliver that highest level of quality and probably save the people even more headache, but a little bit of change as well, and probably save some money on your end because you're not, you know, forking over the cost of whatever that venue is going to be and wrapping that up into your cost and all of those things.
For sure.
Obviously, that is something that, hey, how invested are these people in their wedding? Are they $20,000 into this wedding already, or
Right.
are they $200 into this wedding already? You kind of have to know what's left on the table there. But I think if you can deliver all that in the same place with people that you can trust to deliver their side of the pie as well, I think that you've got a winning formula there, my friend.
Yeah, and so
You
those
started driving around looking at properties yet?
I've got
You
I've got
catch
a
them
couple,
out of the corner of your eye, huh?
I got a couple of Zillow profiles saved that send me some stuff, and so it's always been something that's on my mind of like, hey, what would it look like? How do we take this to the next level? And then other things like that, you know, like, hey, what would it look like to do things really different than everyone else? That's where I spend a lot of my time thinking and dreaming of where, hey, we've got all of these couples that we're booking. If we had our own venue, how cool that would it be where we could invite all of our couples that booked the last month to like this family dinner, right?
Yeah.
And I like to cook too. So, you know, I would be able to cook, and I, you know, hospitality is a big part of this and why
Absolutely.
I'm passionate about it. And so where we could connect with them even more personally than we are now. You know, we do probably 70% less in-person meetings now during the sales process than we did pre-COVID. So much things have changed and gone virtual, and there's a reason people go to events.
Us
Connection.
too, man.
Yeah.
God, us too. And there is so many times where we are introduced to someone over the email, talk to them over the phone. Like, that's why I told you over the phone when we talked the first time. I was like, dude, I can't wait to shake your hand. Like, I love doing this. We literally do the podcast because I feel like it keeps you learning from the businesses. It allows you to deliver content and material to people that are listening and trying to learn how to run a business. And that is super, super important. For my mental health, it is so good for me to learn and understand the challenges that people are experiencing within their business, because our job is to solve those things. You know, from a payments perspective, you know, everybody in their business suffers from, I want more clients. Right. Sometimes the biggest barrier to those clients is how easy is it for people to do business with you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, not what does your product cost or how fast can you get it to them. It's just, what does it feel like when I try to buy something from you online? Or what does it feel like when I call your office and I want to try to buy something from you, or you send somebody to my house to fix my hot water heater? You know what I mean? So like, we have to have our ear to the ground to the best of our ability to understand what it is that people are going through. I know you can hear everything, by the way. It won't be that way after the fact. I'm sure you know that, but this is our same thing. You know, that this is our dinner. You know what I mean? The podcast is that. So I appreciate you coming in and participating in it, because it does mean a lot to me. Tell me, and this is probably the most important for the people watching. I do appreciate you watching, but the most important I could probably ask for them is, tell me about that experience of kind of going all in on your business. You know, what did it feel like to burn the ship when you decided I'm going all in? And I know that shortly after that was that maybe I have to go all out, you know, period. But once things started, you know, you started solving those problems, we were able to get back face to face. and you're really able to wear that business owner hat all the time and take a step back from rendering the services on behalf of your company.
Right.
What is that experience like, and why should other people kind of dive into that same experience?
Yeah, great question. I think I knew that I had a set of skills that could add value. I think I was smart enough to know that it was going to be really hard because I originally didn't want to start my own business. Before I started Rivet Events, I talked to a couple people about kind of jumping and accelerating what they had going on, but ultimately the vision and mission of what I wanted to do kind of won in that in that story.
I'm sure it fought the good fight though.
Yeah. But I also was naive enough to think that it wasn't going to be as hard as it actually has been, and so it's challenging. You hear all these sayings. It's like I have a baby now, and before that it was my baby, and it still kind of is. You invest a lot of time and energy. You don't make as much money as you think you're going to, or someone might tell you, and if you're spending too much time on social media and all kinds of stuff, you're going to start to believe a lot of things that aren't true and that don't actually fit in. And so for me, I think that what worked well and what I would encourage someone else in is, hey, if you're good at it and you're passionate about it, and there is a way to make some money, start it as a side hobby and keep doing what you're doing. And if you're passionate about it, it should be fun, right?
Absolutely.
Like, obviously where we're at right now, there's moments that aren't as fun. I'm not just DJing events, but even back then, I loved getting on the microphone. I loved seeing people on the dance floor. I loved seeing a bride and her grandma just getting down, like having fun on the dance floor and being part of creating those moments.
And you bring the energy to the room. Like I can tell just from talking to you, like weddings are awkward. Weddings are awkward, especially if you're the one getting married.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, how are you supposed to be the one going through the process mentally of getting married, and you have to make everybody else excited to be there on their Friday or Saturday or Sunday or whatever it is? So you play a huge part in setting the tone based on who you are and what your business is. I can feel it from you. You know what I mean? So it's really, really cool.
Have you ever been to a wedding where no one danced?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Good
luckily,
for you.
Luckily for me.
It's rough. There's a reason I get excited about that part, because that's a lot of my background. But I mean, it's rough.
I've been to some shaky weddings. I won't lie. I've been, because you're from Dallas, right?
Yeah.
I'm from Rockmart, right? So I've been to all of those, like, go to like the Bremen area or Bowden area, because there's a lot of beautiful, beautiful places out there as far as venues go that you can find out there. But if you're getting married and the first thing that you think is, I know exactly where I want my wedding to be.
Yeah.
Right. And that is you feel like you've crossed the biggest X off of the list of things to figure out. You are sorely mistaken.
Yeah.
You are sorely, sorely mistaken, because I have been through like the hire a DJ on Fiverr, like the last 2 days before my wedding. I've been through, like, I've seen, like, my photographer's not here. Like, I've seen, they're like, my photographer shows up like in gym shorts. I've seen a lot of those things because I've been to a ton of weddings. But I've never been to one that wasn't fun. I will say that I've never been to one that didn't have that really, really fun feel to it.
Right.
Maybe it's my age. Because all the people that are getting married my age are 25 or younger.
Yeah.
So we go to a lot of people. People still have the ability to bring the energy there. But,
for sure.
I've seen some grandmas fall on the dance floor. I've seen all of those things. So I don't think I've been to one that wasn't fun. I don't think I've been to one where people wasn't dance. But I've definitely seen the horror story. And it makes me fear for that problem. Well, I'm not going to lie. I know a lot about business just from the clients that I have in the small business world. And I will never, there are two things that I have decided a long time ago, as I make more money and figure more things out of my life, is I will not be planning my own wedding, and I will not move my own items next time I move my house. That is a fact. I will not pick up any furniture anymore. That will never happen again for me. So, moving companies out there that are thinking about marketing to me, save your dollars, because I'm going to go with one of you.
Yeah.
All right, there, you've already won my business. I'm sure a couple of you will bid for me, but I will not be planning my own wedding, and I will not be moving my own items. So trust me, you've already got me sold.
Thank
but
you.
no, for the most part, I think they've been pretty fun. I think they've been a pretty good time. So.
They're special in our hiring process. We focus a lot on there's a lot of people in the space that, hey, it's an event, it pays, it's consistent, and they're in there for the wrong reasons. And so there's a lot of stressful things when dealing with weddings. And so there's got to be something more than a paycheck and an event that's driving this, because for us, there's a lot on the line.
Sure.
And we want to make sure that that couple has the best day ever.
Yeah.
And we're not willing to take any shortcuts on that.
100%. And that is the way to be. It's the way to be in business in general, because I see a lot of the way that you talk about how you get your business too is very indicative of good things to me too. Because the one man videographer that markets in those groups on Facebook and charges people, $2,000 to be there for a couple of hours and give you what I can, like the DJ that markets in those groups for $750 and plays you his playlist off his MacBook and just zero engagement, is really just there to kind of fill the hole. And that's just not what you want.
Right.
People don't, I think that obviously if you're doing 250 weddings this year, there are a tremendous amount of people that understand the value. But there are a ton of people that don't. There really are a ton of people that don't, because that day is something that you shouldn't be able to replace.
I've seen one. This is one of my favorite things I've ever seen. It was a one person that was doing DJ photography and videography at the same time.
Yeah.
And so he had a rig.
So what, do you have, 6
to
arms?
his No, he had the videography rigs. So he had that attached to his body. He had a camera kind of around his neck that he would pick up and take pictures. And then he was playing the music off of his phone to his computer. And so he's walking around just videoing people. And I was just like, someone was like, I get it. It's like, oh, this is probably a great deal, right?
Yeah.
And but
sounds good.
We send one person for each thing that's specialized in making that the best possible. And and not everyone has that approach.
No, 100%. And not whatever is clever, whatever floats your boat, I guess. If that can create the moment that you're looking for the amount of money that you have, and that's what you have to give to it, and it creates the moment that you're after, more power to you, my friend.
Yeah.
But wedding planning should not be about taking all of that stress off of the couple and then just putting it on yourself because you're so overwhelmed, because you're not going to do a good job.
Right.
So it's pretty cool. The quality control in your business and the quality control in our business, I think, is very, very similar, because you don't have a lot of time to put out fires.
Yeah. We
definitely don't either. So that customer service and enthusiasm to your industry is very, very important, and I hope to the people listening that we have, we've inspired you to take what you love, and make something out of it, and if there's any questions that you have for us about what it takes to make that a reality, my resources are always here for you.
Yeah.
I won't lend yours out there for people. Those are yours to lend on your own, but there's a lot to learn. There's a lot still for us to learn ourselves. We still have a tremendous amount to learn. The business landscape changes about as fast as we learn it, but you guys are doing some really, really cool things.
Thank
and I'm glad you guys are so close to us too.
Yeah.
I said you went to East, right?
East Spalding High School.
Yeah, I grew up about 3 minutes from, you went to East too, didn't you? Yeah, I grew up like 3 minutes from Baldwin County High School.
Yeah.
I grew up right on Coal Lake.
Yep.
Right off of Scoggin. So we were all really close to each other. It's pretty cool.
Yep. The roots are there.
Yeah, they are. Well, I introduced you to Holly. I'm going to try to introduce you to some more people again. Amanda wants to renew her vows. I'll get married at some point in my life. So we have some business for you as well, but we have some people in our book of business that I think would be cool for you too. So I look forward to keeping on knowing you, seeing where your business takes you. I appreciate you for participating in the podcast again. It does mean a lot to us. And if you have
appreciate you inviting me.
Anything else that you want to leave the people with, the floor is yours, my friend.
Cool. Yeah, I would just say, if you know someone that is getting married, or if you're getting married, or if you have an event that you're planning and you're stressed out, you don't have to.
You see a single piece of hair fall out of your head, you should give Josh a call.
You said it, not me.
Yeah.
But I would agree with that. We have an unbelievable team. We've been part of hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of events, and we know what it takes to make them great and to make sure that people's memories last forever. And there's a reason you're throwing an event. There's a celebration of something, and it deserves to be memorable, and we want to be a part of helping that with couples and people. And so if you're stressed, if you're planning something and you need help, you can reach out to us, rivetevents.com. Follow us on Instagram, where we've got a lot of weddings, so there's always posts going crazy there from all the weddings that we're doing, and so a lot of cool things to see and just to get inspiration as well.
Cool. That's cool, my friend. I wish I was better about Instagram myself. We have a wonderful social media manager for all of those things now, don't we? Shelly handles all of those things for us now, our posting on Facebook. Yeah, and we appreciate it. Thank you. That's all I got for us.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Back to work, Shelly.
Go do my other job.
I asked permission.